I'm Terry, and this is Tea with Terry, where we talk about thoughts, emotions, and actions. Today, we're going to talk about a powerful emotion, anger. And it's so powerful that it might even make you a little uncomfortable to think about anger and to discuss the emotion of anger. But it's a really powerful and an important emotion to consider because there's some debate about whether it's a primary emotion or a secondary emotion. And if it really is a secondary emotion, it's important to know what's underneath. I had a recent experience where I was angry and I was acting out in anger. And this is how I really recognized that it was anger, is that I was getting feedback like, you seem angry. What's going on? Why are you angry? And I realized because of some of the exploration I've done around this emotion is that I was actually fearful. So let's talk about anger. So first of all, anger is one of those emotions that most people can recognize and probably recognize while they're experiencing it. So anger is an action emotion and can range from mild irritation, annoyance, to even fury or rage. Anger activates our nervous system and hijacks our thoughts and behaviors. All emotions are controlled by the amygdala. So we're never really in our thinking brain when we're acting out our emotions. But in particular, anger, because it can create that sense of not feeling safe. And so we're often in that fight or flight or freeze state when we're angry. And so both unexpressed anger and acting out in anger can be detrimental to our health, both our psyche and our physical health. So there is some question about whether anger is that primary or secondary emotion. And I've heard it described as a secondary emotion because we feel more comfortable expressing anger versus other emotions. But Brene Brown shared in her book, Atlas of the Heart, that actually 91% of emotion experts say that we're wrong. But what Brene Brown has found in her own research is that we do see that many other emotions are tied into anger. And so looking at what might be underneath the anger can be a really important way to deal with that emotion that is creating that response. And so what Brene Brown found is that there are 87 different emotions in Atlas of the Heart. And her research bears out that 20 of them are likely to be present as anger. So we actually use anger when we're feeling fearful, when we feel hurt, betrayed, when we experience injustice or shame. And so the most important question may not be if anger is a primary or secondary emotion. It may be these three things. And this comes from the work of Brene Brown. Number one, anger often masks emotions that are more difficult to name or more difficult to own. And so if you are sensing there might be something underneath your anger, in my case, when other people were identifying it as anger, it didn't feel like anger to me. But I often recognize that fear and anger are very closely aligned for me. And I think it's because when I feel out of control and fearful, that's where I go to. My go-to is anger. Isn't it interesting? So you may recognize a pattern like this in your own life. And this is where we can really get underneath and start to explore those deeper emotions. Number two, just as an indicator light in our car tells us to pull over and check things out, anger can be a very effective indicator light. So what is the anger telling you? What is it indicating? Where are things not lining up? And again, as we do emotional work in our lives, this is really powerful. And then number three, anger in response to experiencing or witnessing injustice, pain, or struggle can actually be a powerful catalyst for change. But as Brene Brown says, a catalyst sparks change. It is not the change. So I want to invite you this week to explore when you witness anger in others or experience it yourself. Is there an underlying emotion that is also part of what you're experiencing? And how would addressing that emotion help you create a more peaceful, joyful, and integrated life? All right, well, that's tea for Terry today. I'll see you next week.